oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I was freaking out. I was sweating. I was terrified. It is possible to be confident in your career as an artist and also be wrestling with anxiety. I have anxiety, but I work really hard not to let it affect my art and not to let it affect my career. There are so many things I'm still terrified of. I doubt myself all the time because of finances. If you want to have a career in the arts, you're gonna be terrified and you're gonna be scared, but you still have to do it, or else no one else is gonna do it for you. How do you deal with self-doubt and anxiety as a professional artist? I wanna talk about it. Welcome to episode 2 of Artist with a Dream. I am an artist with a dream. I've been pursuing art in the form of murals and illustration for about a year now. I am also a person who deals with anxiety. I have had a very traumatic childhood. I have dealt with narcissistic abuse, and as an adult, that has shown up in the form of anxiety and insomnia and lots of self-doubt. You might look at my YouTube channel and my website and the murals I've done and be like, she's killing it, she is so confident. What do you mean she has anxiety? I have a lot of anxiety, and I'm learning how to control it every single day, and it's been a journey, and I want to talk about that. It is possible to be confident in your career as an artist and also be wrestling with anxiety. It is very possible. In fact, I think most people are dealing with some sort of mental health crisis in some way or the other. But it is possible, because a year ago, I wouldn't have thought it was possible. I was so deeply anxious. I had the worst insomnia, and I tried everything to cure the insomnia. Here's some of my mental health journey. So I first started with an online therapist who I hated, and then I went to a therapist in person for a long time, maybe about a year, and that was actually really bad for me. I did not vibe with her. Although I thought I did, she just wasn't the correct therapist for me. I did hypnotherapy to cure the insomnia, hypnosis, that was kind of cool. And then finally I ended up with a therapist who I still have, who I really like. I'm a big proponent of therapy, but it is really hard to do therapy if you are not matched with the perfect therapist, and I understand that can be really hard. I also understand therapy is expensive. It's really expensive. I would love to go to therapy more often, but honestly, I can't really afford it, and that's tough. What I did, because I couldn't afford the more expensive therapy, is I went to this volunteer therapy place where it was people in grad school, therapists becoming therapists who weren't fully therapists yet, but were in grad school and needed to get the hours. I went to that. It started at $40 a session, and then it went to $50 a session, which is cheap for therapy. If you can find something like that in your area, just to start talking to somebody professionally for a cheaper price, I highly suggest that. And that place was where I found my current therapist. She has now gotten her own practice, but that's where I found my current therapist, and I'm very happy with her. So it works sometimes. Sometimes you get a bad therapist too, but you gotta try. Trying to heal from complex trauma and abuse while pursuing art at the same time is kind of crazy, because some days I can barely focus. I'm just so anxious, and still I have to go out and find more murals. But for me, because I love art so much and because I love murals so much, when I'm painting a mural, that feels like a safe space to me. So that gives me more and more reason to find more murals to paint. My anxiety, it doesn't go away when I'm painting murals. In fact, if I'm not listening to music, I'm probably talking to myself while I'm painting, kind of working through something, but it makes me feel like I have a purpose. And I think the more you work towards something that you feel really passionate about, the more your anxiety kind of goes away. I had the worst anxiety when I was working in a job that I wasn't passionate about. Now my anxiety has significantly decreased because I'm in a profession that I'm passionate about. It's not easy, it's not even financially stable yet, but I'm passionate about it, so I'm not as anxious. Another huge thing that has helped me deal with my anxiety is journaling. I started journaling on paper. What I would do is every morning I would wake up and I would journal 3 pages of whatever just comes out of my mind. Just sit down, journal 3 pages. Now I journal on my phone with the iPhone journal app, literally multiple times a day. Whenever something comes into my mind, I make myself sit down and journal about it. Just get it all out there. I have probably over 300 plus journal entries of just all my anxiety, getting it out of my head and getting it down into my phone. Some of them are really rambly. A lot of them unearth a lot of trauma. Journaling is great because your subconscious mind knows so much more than you could even think. So when you just start typing, it just happens naturally. It just comes out of your subconscious and it spits all this stuff out, and then you naturally feel better. When I was dealing with anxiety a year ago and it was at its worst it's ever been, the journaling didn't really seem like it was helping, but now I can see that it was helping. Even if a teeny bit of anxiety went away after I journaled, I felt better. And the more I did, the more I got better at it and the faster it would be. And by the way, I don't show these journals to anybody. I read them to my therapist sometimes, but I keep them for myself. It is the fastest tool for me to get some of that anxiety out. Another big thing for me dealing with anxiety is having a support group. Some people that I can just call or text and be like, hey, I'm anxious, can you just talk to me? For me, this is my partner, Angel, my dad, and my friends. They are always a text away. And I'm just like, hey, I'm having an anxious day. Can you just give me some words of affirmation? That is really difficult to do if you didn't have a childhood where you can go to somebody for words of love. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. When I was going through the worst period of anxiety in my life, I had all my friends write me a little note that said just something out of their minds. I actually got my dad's note tattooed on me. It says, everything beautiful in the world is within you. That's beautiful. And you can ask the people you love for little notes like that. I surround myself with a lot of artists as well. And I think that's important because in the art community, there's a lot of mental illness. I think that's kind of common because it's hard to be an artist in this world that's not really made for artists. I think people a lot of time look down on artists thinking they're selfish or like, oh, you should get a real job. But artists have always been grappling with their brain and with their mind, and that's where the most beautiful art comes from. So I think it's important as an artist to surround yourself with other artists, whether that be going to your local figure drawing workshop, signing up for a class at the community college, going online and finding other artists. There's groups that meet up and sketch. There's like an app called GroupMe, and you can go find other artists who sketch. That's important because I guarantee if you hang out with a group of artists, some of them, if not all of them, will talk about anxiety and depression and mental health. It's so common and it's great because we're all dealing with this thing together. And frankly, I get bored hanging around people who have never dealt with anxiety or dealt with trauma and don't know what it's like. It's good to relate to people who know what it's like because it's freaking scary and it's terrifying, but having people around you who are creative minded, who have also gone through similar things is very important. Now, how do I reach out to people and get murals and be an extrovert when I'm actually very anxious and an introvert by nature? How do I do that? Well, I force myself. It's kind of like exposure therapy. It's my own little exposure therapy. You just got to make yourself do it even though it's terrifying, because every time you do it, it just gets a little bit easier. I printed out some flyers because I wanted to get murals at veterinary clinics. It's hard to say that. I wanted to paint murals at vets. So I printed out these flyers and I made myself go and hand them out to different vets. I was so scared. I was sitting in my car before each one, just breathing deeply and almost panicking because I was so scared to do it. But I knew if I didn't do it, I would be upset with myself. So I made myself get out of the car, walk up to these vets and be like, I had my flyer in my hand. I had a few stickers for them too. I was like, hey, by the way, I'm a local muralist. If you guys ever need any artwork or murals for your office, let me know. Here's some stickers, here's my flyer. I did that to like 15 different vets. I didn't get anything yet, but it was a great opportunity to not only get closer to my goal of having more murals, but also get closer to my goal of being less socially anxious. It felt good. I felt like an adult. And it went well every single time. Most of them were just like, oh, okay, thanks, we'll show it to the doctor. Oh, I love these stickers. I have anxiety, but I work really hard not to let it affect my art and not to let it affect my career. For example, this podcast. When I decided to make a podcast, there were so many negative thoughts in my head saying, you shouldn't do that. That's cheesy. That's embarrassing. Nobody wants to hear your stupid podcast. Why would you do that? But I'm like, I'm not going to let my anxiety stop me, so I just did it. So I filmed it. It probably won't get a lot of views, but my gut is telling me to do it, so I'm doing it. Not to quote that stupid meme, but just do it. That's the way to get over anxiety, you know? Just do the things you want to do, even though it's really hard. For example, okay, phobias. I think phobias are similar. I used to have really bad arachnophobia to the point where I could not even write down the word tarantula. I couldn't even say it without going into full sweats. I had the worst arachnophobia. If somebody showed me a picture of a spider, I would never talk to them again. I was deathly afraid of spiders, especially tarantulas. And one day I was like, I can't live like this. It actually affected my life in that I couldn't go to really any movie without being terrified that a spider would pop on the screen. I couldn't go and enjoy Halloween because I was scared a spider would pop out in front of me or something. And I was scared to live without somebody else in the house to kill a spider for me or take a spider outside. It was kind of debilitating and it was like a mental block. So after my entire life of living with this terrible fear, I decided to do the terrifying decision and slowly show myself spiders. It was crazy. I started by taking a piece of paper and drawing a spider. It was like a circle with lines, okay? It was a circle with lines. And that made me freaking terrified. I was like, oh my God. So I did that and I just had it on a sticky note for many days until I got used to it. And I would just draw a little spider with legs. It's crazy. And then my next step was to write down the word tarantula. That was really scary. I was sweating. But I did it and I had it sitting on my desk for like a week. And I was like, tarantula, tarantula, tarantula. I still couldn't bring myself to look at pictures of them. I couldn't even bring myself to look at drawings of them. But I knew I had to do it. And I think working through that fear kind of naturally led itself to, oh, I could do whatever I want in the art field because I faced my biggest fear of spiders eventually. Okay, this was huge. I went onto Pinterest and I typed in spider tattoo. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I was freaking out. I was sweating. I was terrified. So I typed in spider tattoo on Pinterest. Pictures came up. I threw my phone. I couldn't even look at it. So I picked it up, took off my glasses so it was blurry, and I looked at it like that. I could see their silhouettes, and I was like, oh my God, I can't. But I did it the next day, and I did it the next day until I could put my glasses on and actually look at it. And I would look at one picture. It was literally a silhouette of a spider. That's it. But I looked at it, and that was the first image of a spider I had ever looked at. And I would do this every single day. Type in spider tattoo on Pinterest and scroll down one image the next day. It was exposure therapy, okay? I did that, and then I typed in on Google cute spider tattoo because I could handle that more. And then eventually, after months of that, it was time to look at a picture of a tarantula. Dude, that was the worst. That was the scariest thing. That is literally the bravest I've ever been in my life. And I've been skydiving twice. If you know me, you knew how bad that arachnophobia was. But I did it. Over many days, I typed in tarantula to Google and I was screaming. I wanted to throw my phone, but I did it. And I made myself look at it and take deep breaths. And I felt that I was safe, because I was safe. It was so bad that if I went into a Petco, I couldn't even look towards the general direction of where the tarantula lived. I would avoid it. So I made myself go into Petco towards the end and just glance at the hallway. And then I left. And then I came in the next day and I got a little bit closer to the hallway and then I left. I suggest doing this with a therapist, by the way. I did it by myself, which was crazy, but it's possible. Eventually, after many days of that, I can now look at a tarantula in Petco. So yeah, I could get murals and I could talk to people and I could do art and I could illustrate children's books. You know, just face your fears slowly, day by day. And then your art career will naturally follow, honestly. There are so many things I'm still terrified of, you know. I doubt myself all the time because of finances. If a month goes by and I don't have a mural, I'm like, how am I gonna pay for this? How am I gonna pay for this? Oh my God, I'm not getting enough money. And then, sure enough, another mural comes by or another job opportunity comes by and I'm fine. Having self-trust is something that you really have to work on. It's something I have to work on all the time. I wake up and I look on YouTube, affirmations for self-trust, and then I put on my headphones and I listen to it. I look up meditations, you know, meditations for self-trust, and I do the meditations. I look in the mirror and I say, I trust you and I love you. I have to do these things so that I can trust myself. I feel like I have to be my own mom in a way and love myself and trust myself so that I can keep believing in myself and keep on doing murals. So all that to say, how to deal with anxiety and art. You will be anxious and you will still be scared the whole time. If you feel scared, you still have to do it. That's kind of the only answer. Because if every time I felt scared to go approach somebody and ask if they wanted a mural, or call a business, or email a business, or talk to somebody, or try a new painting technique, or post a YouTube video, if every time my fear got in the way, I wouldn't have done any of those things. So I heard a quote that said, do it scared, do it scared. You're gonna be scared, you have to do it. If you want to have a career in the arts, you're gonna be terrified and you're gonna be scared, but you still have to do it, or else no one else is gonna do it for you. Anxiety is a terrible beast. I have been in my darkest hours because of anxiety. Nobody could really pull me out of it except myself. I had to look at those spiders. I had to go hand out my flyers. I had to go paint these walls, which I didn't know how to paint until I got there. If you surround yourself with people who love you and support you, it's a lot easier. If you find yourself a good therapist, it's a lot easier. If you journal, if you meditate, if you work out, it's a lot easier. But nobody will do it for you except yourself, even when people around you are like, what are you doing, dude? Do it scared, and then each time you do something when you're terrified, you'll be less scared the next time. Also, as a disclaimer, I do not take any anti-anxiety medication. I got prescribed one once, but I decided I would rather just do it through talk therapy and do it myself. If that works for other people, great, go for it. That didn't work for me. I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor. So the more you face your fears in your day-to-day life, whether it be spiders, whether it be talking to strangers, whether it be heights, whatever, the easier doing things related to your art career will become. So yeah, thank you for watching episode 2 of my new podcast. I really appreciate it. And let me know in the comments below any ideas for future podcasts. I'm excited. I'm going to be having some guests on soon. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.